I'm gonna start recording. Oh, I forgot to turn on the volume. Well, let's go live. Let's see if it works this time for Zoom. So I'm in restricted.
Just do all things water,
Okay.
we can share. Yeah. Are we like?
Almost.
If you wouldn't mind asking me the questions as they come on, Chris?
Yep.
Thank you. There was an error.
No, that's all her move. Yep, you wait. Okay, cool, we're good. Okay, let me share it to Hotels in Mexico. Hey, let's rock this.
Welcome, everybody, to Chat with the Manager. I am proud to announce we have a guest, Mike Davidson. He's been proactive in all things water related, joined a couple of committees this year round. How do you feel about that?
It's a lot more work than I thought.
Lot of information.
A lot of early morning getting ready.
Yeah, the last 2 days, we've had a water committee meeting and a public works committee and a lot of information thrown out in those 3.5 hours.
Yeah, it's a lot of data to process.
Yep. But you're doing good things, trying to get the information out to the public, not just from the city's perspective, but as a resident as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you have any questions so far that you'd like to ask? I know we have a couple people in the audience.
No, not particularly. I mean, we've talked about these things
Yes,
till we're blue in the face, so.
we have. And the consensus is we are still proactively working for what our water needs are, bringing in more water production, possibly drilling more wells, doing some water storage. And those are things that we definitely need the funding for. So that's cost of service increase, that's asking for grant funding. There's a lot of pieces to the puzzle that we need to put together for that.
Absolutely. And that's one thing that struck me. It's far more complex than initially realized. And any way you look at it, government moves slowly to get your needs. So hopefully the state will give us some assistance. I know the water storage tank is going to be a big factor that people tend to say, well, why do we need water storage when we have a shortage of water? But that's the exact reason we need to have water storage so that we can store water during off-peak times that will help us get through the peak times. We're having as I understand it, we're having a deficit of a little over 1,000 gallons per day during our peak times. And ultimately, that is what is causing the restriction. And you can look at it any way you want, but if you release those restrictions, that it's not going to take too long for 1,000 gallon per day deficit to catch up to you and do pretty good damage to our system.
Yep. You know, the good thing is the city's working on some incentive ordinances. So that way we can hopefully get people to zero-scape some of their yards and offer some type of reward. We don't have that number, that reward yet, but that is something that we've recently starting the discussions on as of this week. So that'll be exciting to get out to everybody.
Conservation is key. It's the one area that doesn't cost a great deal of money. It's our most effective tool to bridging the gap, which is primarily what Portales needs to do, is bridge the gap between now and when the Ute project will come in and be helpful to us.
Yes.
And so anyways, we've got to bridge that gap. Conservation between point A to point B is critical.
Yes, and there's a lot of conservation efforts you can do from doing gray water in your yard, some low cost, additional features to pipe out gray water. I know the grass loves the Dawn dish soap for some reason. So if you're pumping out gray water, that's one thing. The other conservations is rainwater. We talked about collecting rainwater. We've also, just so many things that could be done from xeriscaping. And those are types of things that we're trying to educate everybody on, but you know, I was told that if you have a leaky toilet and you don't catch it for 30 days, that could be 60,000 gallons of water lost. That's a lot, and for just a leaky toilet alone.
Yeah, it's amazing. You know, I had a leaky faucet. And we were about to do a bathroom remodel. And it was out of sight, out of mind. And then it just hit me. I'm sitting here advocating for water and conservation, and I'm sitting there with a leaky faucet. And so I fixed it. I essentially shut it off in an unused bathroom until we got the remodel. But in the process, I calculated, I'm a musician, so I count beats per minute. I calculated the drops per minute, how many gallons that was a year that I would have been wasting. And it's enormous. It's shocking how much water, what appears to be a small amount, ultimately winds up wasting. And in my case, it wound up wasting on a per year basis, my total water for 1 month. It wasted a month's worth of water during that year. So it's very shocking and surprising. And I know there are a lot of leaky faucets in this town.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it would be helpful if everybody was aware of that.
So I know that a lot of times lately we've been talking about a lot of water, but there's a lot of other moving parts in the city. From planning and zoning, code enforcement, animal control. These are a lot of things that we are actively working on every single day. God bless you.
Thank you.
There's so many pieces to the city puzzle that we're trying to accommodate everybody's needs. We've immensely improved our communication efforts. We've redone our phone tree. We have added on Text My Gov. You can put in complaints or comments or anything to our website. We do streamline our meetings as best as we can. We did have a problem where Facebook wasn't allowing us to live stream our city council meetings, but I think we're working through that. There's just been a lot of moving pieces. And so, you know, I want to highlight on the other departments that are also actively working just as hard.
Well, I think the city, I've got to be honest, you know, I have a Portales water page. I started it to go after the city. I was coming after you.
Yep.
And we've talked about that. But when you realize what truly is going on and the efforts that the city, first of all, has to endure and the efforts that the city is making, I will say that the city, in the times that I have been a critical observer, just looking for, okay, you know, mess up so I can get after you. You've done a great job of increasing the transparency. No, it's not going to be to everybody's satisfaction. The thing about it is, it's never going to be to everybody's satisfaction. But I think the city has to be given kudos on opening up like meetings like this. You didn't have to do this, you know, in some of the town halls, you didn't have to do that. But I know that your administration has been wanted to be transparent, and that was a big factor. So that's appreciated, and I've noticed the improvement.
Well, and you know, we can play the blame game, but somebody that I really respect and appreciate their opinions and guidance said, let's not worry about the past. What is the path forward? And so that's what the city's focused on. What are we going to do going forward? What steps can we take? How much can we give the information out to the public? We do want to be transparent and let everybody know what we're doing.
Well, to satisfy some of the people that do want to blame, you can go ahead and get it out of the way. There were some bad decisions made along the way. There is no question about it. And those people that served in some of those official statuses, they did not have a crystal ball. They did what they thought was best at that time. And sometimes it does not work out to the best. But in the grand scheme of things, what good does it do to go back and say, I told you so, or this is your fault? Is, what has been done is done, and we need to get together and work through this. And times may never be the same as they were previously.
Right.
We've got to be willing to accept that.
Right.
We may not have these mega lush lawns. And maybe we could, but how responsible is that to the future generations? I do not want to be the generation that had, I have a nice big lawn with all these plants and everything. Sorry, future generations, that we didn't leave you anything. We have a responsibility. What was handed down to our generations, we have a responsibility to be responsible
And improve it.
and hand down to other generations. This city has been going since 1898. And we have a responsibility to keep it going. And it's gonna have to be modified along the way.
Yes.
It's gonna have to adapt along the way. We have been water hogs. This is our fault. As residents, as humans, we've known about these problems since 1936 at the very least. There's indicators that we knew prior to that. So our water problems did not sneak up on us overnight. And the unfortunate thing is all solutions take a great deal of money.
Right.
So
Right.
here we are.
So we are doing the best we can, and especially the committee members, the staff, the city council. I mean, everybody's doing their part, I feel like right now. So, and that's what we can continue to do. But some of the other more positive subjects is our parks. We're trying to improve our parks one park at a time. Rotary Park is the new and upcoming approved park with the new playground structures, the skate park that I see so many people using. It is so nice to see.
Excellent.
I went out there the other day and a gentleman was like, this is the best thing the city could do. And those are some of the good things. I know people have commented on why we're getting grants for not water related things, but the city applies for all the grants that come across our desk, and we get them or we don't. And we were blessed with a almost $800,000 grant for a skate park, and we went with it, and we're almost completed with that.
If our community would not have gotten that skate park, Carlsbad or Artesia or Lovington, or some of the community would have taken advantage. I don't go skating. The last time I contemplated getting back on a skateboard, it was an absolute disaster in the front of my house. But there are so many people that they enjoy that. We've got to have something for young people to do.
Yes.
Uh,
I get
so,
asked that all the time.
yes.
What are we doing to improve parks? We're starting with one park at a time. And it's a multimodal park, so that means anywhere from skateboards to wheelchairs to walkers, anything that you need to roll with will be able to use those facilities. And I've seen tiny people use it and older people use it, and it's just great.
I do think that we should focus on the parks. We should make sure that we take good care of those parks, because now with not having every yard lush green, then it gives people a place to gravitate to,
Yeah.
to where and beautify the city. That's the thing about it. Within that skate park, within the dog park, those two properties are going to be improved. And while ultimately we all pay for that with federal funds, those were grants that did not immediately come out of local taxpayers' budgets
Right.
and pockets. And again, we would have been paying for another community to have those. So I'm happy, even though I won't use that skate park, I'm very happy to see it
Well,
sit here.
we-
Won't use it for skating.
We do have new basketball courts that are going to be installed. We have the outdoor amphitheater that we're going to have installed. Some upgrades to the walking trail. So we did get $1 million outdoor grant to do a bunch of improvements to the city. So that stuff is in fruition as well.
Walking trail, I could obviously use. I'm gonna be a fan of that.
We want to get some lighting out there and some low impact workout pieces of equipment and some shade areas, so that's kind of our next goal in that area.
So it's making progress and it is overwhelming. I can only imagine what you go through managing a city. But it's the needs of a city are overwhelming. People, in some cases, are quick to judge. But a city this size with the tax bases and revenue streams that we have, we don't have any alien landings like Roswell and, you know, we have peanuts, or we used to. And so we have agriculture. And so it's hard to generate revenue in a town like this. And the cost of meeting municipal needs has skyrocketed over the years.
Well, you heard
Taxes
today,
have not.
yeah, and you heard today that our trash truck tires 2 years ago was $100, maybe 115,
Yes.
and now they're almost $800 a tire.
Yes, there's no doubt. We need help in our streets. We have potholes. We need help in the trash area and the water area. And in a sense, those are the beginnings. We could use this and that to go along with it, but all of those things cost a great deal of money.
So we are looking at ways to clean up our alleyways since you brought up trash. Our street department has merged with the solid waste department, so they'll, when they do their alley cleanup or their pothole repairs, they're also gonna go into the alleys and try to get those cleaned up. We are asking residents to use the convenience center. We do offer the first and third Tuesday of the month free to the county. We're looking at changing that day to be more accommodating to everybody. We also went from closing on Sundays to opening all day Saturday. So hopefully on Saturdays, people will utilize that as well because it'll be an all day thing that we are open.
Years ago, when we lost the dump ground, it changed the formula for our town. It got more and more costly to dispose of the trash. And so we've got to come up with solutions to tackle that. Make the entire town more attractive.
Yep.
But here's the thing, this is opinion, okay? And I hit you up about it one time. Government has a reputation to move slow. And I am a firm believer that some of that can be changed by not allowing it to move slow. Why not be the administration that kicks it into gear and gets a lot of these problems solved, and we may not can solve all of them in short order. But I think every problem has a solution, or otherwise, why stay here? Some people, I'm gonna move, I'm gonna go. Okay, those are individual choices, but I'm a firm believer that we can make a lot of improvements in this town. Not all of them cost a great deal of money. Conservation does not cost a lot of money. Cleaning up, picking up trash does not cost a lot of money.
Right.
So,
That's very good stuff. I'd like to open up to any questions that we may have at this time. Anybody from the audience? Yes, please. Join us at the podium.
I'm gonna skip over the general water problem. I know you've had other meetings and you just went pretty deep in that. My question, ma'am, is what is the plan for repair and work on the fire hydrants here in town? A lot of us have seen, different colors, and I'm aware that that means different pressures and different things, but the black bag ones obviously are the most concern.
So we do have 51 fire hydrants that need repair of some sort. The reason they're black bagged is because it means they didn't meet the pressure that it needs to come out for fire suppression. And that's only for fire suppression. It doesn't mean that there's no water coming out of it. That means we need to get over there and find out. Right now, our water department's guaranteed 1 fire hydrant in a month. And I know that sounds like, oh my goodness, we're only gonna do 1 a month. That's gonna take 4 years. That is not our goal. Our goal is to promise you we'll repair one at 1 a month, but we need to get out and see what is wrong. Some of them could just be, the lid didn't come off, it needs to be greased, it needs an O-ring, whatever it needs. It might be that simple and we can get to 2, 3, 4, 5, or 12 at a time, but we don't know until we can get out there. And we have a few positions open in the water department that we're seeing if anybody can apply for and help us get on that team to do that repair. But it is on the list of priorities. We do have our water leaks set as the highest priority, so that way we can keep, keep those leaks down to a minimum as possible. But we are working actively for that reason.
Thank you for that. Did the company that came out and did this testing and actually painted them and bagged them and whatnot, did they not give a report identifying individual issues at each
No.
hydrant?
They give a report saying this did not meet the flow test, and that's all we knew.
So they got a go, no go on each,
Right.
but no indication of what the problem actually is.
And I know that, we have a counselor that asked if we could privatize it out to bring somebody in to do those hydrants a little faster. We've run into the problem where we've done that in the past and our water departments had to go back in behind them and repair the hydrants once we've done that, whether they didn't put it in right. I know that there's one that's, I can't remember, somewhere in town, it's like 3 foot above ground. It doesn't really need to be that high. There's one by University that leans. It doesn't need to lean. So these are the things that if we're doing them, we're making sure they're installed right. They're within the certain depth that they need to be.
I can appreciate that, although with private companies doing it, that comes with a contract, and
It
then
does.
although it's expensive to chase back after breach of contract or
Right.
deficiencies therein, but
Yes.
we gotta perhaps consider just holding their feet to the fire.
Absolutely. And if that was done during my time, I hold the contractors accountable. That's something that we have to do to be fiscally responsible with the taxpayer money. If we paid for a service, we should get that service that we paid for, not something that is mediocre or less than.
Couldn't agree more. I've had some brief conversations on the topic, of course, with Chief Kathy, but he's the fire chief, not the water chief. You know how that goes, to borrow his line,
That's funny. One team.
right? I agree, but it's
Yes.
the running joke, if you will, and with a lack of
I like it.
much of an audience, I couldn't help myself. I know there's a capability for fire response, God forbid, would you touch on that a little bit, maybe expand on what that capability is, maybe that sort of response, the time and the capability?
Our fire department's outstanding in their less than 5-minute response time. They can roll 10,000 gallons in the big tanker that we have at any time. Each fire truck holds anywhere from 500 gallons up to 5,000 gallons in the fire truck alone. We also have the purple fire hydrants for fire suppression that we can tie into, which I believe is over 15 million gallons of fire suppression where the areas of purple fire hydrants are. And they can also run lines from other fire hydrants within the area. If that specific hydrant's down, they can tie into another one. It might be a long line of hose, but they have those options as well. And most of the time, by the time they get on scene, they can dump their fire truck and they have the fire out. So they're really, really proactive in expediting the process it takes to put out a fire.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Anything else?
Not for me, but thank you.
Anything online? No?
I would add a story about our fire department. That is one thing that, in essence, doesn't exactly match our small community. This fire department has had a reputation for being state-of-the-art and cutting edge for decades. And there was a time in 1990, I went to Phoenix with a small business. It was supposed to be for a couple of months. It wound up being 10 years out there. And we had a kiosk in a mall. We had multiple kiosks, and one of the kiosks right next to me, he was a paramedic fire captain there in Phoenix. And when he found out I was from Portales, New Mexico, he knew exactly where I was from. He knew nothing about our community, but he knew a lot about our little fire department. And the fire department in Phoenix, Arizona, utilized measures that were developed right here in Portales, New Mexico. And I was shocked, but we have taken that, I think possibly for granted as to the job they have done and how well respected they are outside of our community, even in big cities.
And The one thing I will say about Portales Fire is they service a high level of service for all of Roosevelt County, not just the city of Portales. They know no boundaries because they're first responders, just like our communications specialists, 911 operators, they know no boundaries, right? So they service all of Roosevelt County. And so when the call goes out, they just go. And last Saturday, I'm telling you, it was one call after another, after another. I get a notification to my phone so I can keep up with how many calls are going on, kind of be supportive where I can be. And I'm just back to back to back calls. And that's the one department, well, all my departments to be fair, but that department, I never hear a complaint from on all the calls they run, how hard they're running, nothing. And they just keep providing that high level of service that sometimes we do take for granted for.
I dropped by there one afternoon, to see the chief. And I was shocked in our conversation. It was interrupted so many times, that loud telephone and intercom going up, we'd have to stop, he'd listen. And, it was amazing. And I understand they do have some trouble getting multiple calls at once.
Right,
And I hope that we can do something about getting them some help and attract more people into that profession. I know that we have lost some very good people. I know somebody that was working at the fire department, you know, but they couldn't take care of their family
Right.
on those wages.
Right.
So we've got to get it to where we can take care of the people that are risking their lives for us. And if I'm one of those that is falling and I can't get up, I don't want to take a number. I want them to come get me.
right.
So, you know,
Yeah.
we need to have enough people.
We do, and we need, I think Chief said his ideal, each shift ideally, if he could get 11 people, would be his goal. And that would allow for people to take time off, because they don't get to take a whole lot of time off either. So it allow for time off, it would allow for if people have injury or illness, you know, they would still be at the adequate staffing levels. And he speaks a lot about the NFPA guidelines. Those were standards that were set a lot for the East Coast, but all agencies use them. And you should be running 6+ people to a fire call alone, and that's not something that we always have the ability to do.
Well, I know that city has taken a lot of flack over the new fire station that is unmanned.
Right,
And I was one that was hollering as loud as anybody. Why did we waste money on that? Why did we need that? It's not even open. But when Chief Kathy explained it, and plus to his standards, he's not just going to put people over there that are just starting out,
Right.
trainees, and put them and our residents in a precarious situation just to man a building. So I thought he explained it very well.
and they
And-
still have a good response time either side of the railroad tracks that they're on, so he's right. I mean, and a lot of that was purchased with fire funds, with donations, things like that, so it's not just coming out of the general fund. But he does have a plan to get it staffed, but he needs to get his personnel. They need to have more than a year or less in experience, and that's his goal.
We get people stolen from us after we've invested training.
Right,
And to be honest, it's time for us to steal some people from other people.
right,
you know?
yeah.
We need to.
definitely, you know, and it would be great to see all my departments fully staffed. We've had a lot of turnover due to resignations or retirement. That was a big one when I got here. It was a very big retirement. A lot of people on their way out. So the city has their job postings on the website. We encourage anybody to go on. If you don't think you have the skill set, apply anyway. We'd bring you in for an interview. The city likes to train people. I mean, you know, Chief Kathy has had a lot of people apply just wanting to be a firefighter. And now he's had 1 or 2 people or more that stayed more than a year and get, you know, EMT basic
Work up.
and intermediate and paramedic and work their way up. So we definitely train at no cost to you other than your time. And it's, you know, like fire service is not what it used to be, but it's very, very important and it's much needed in all of our areas.
Well, you can take jobs and turn them into careers
Yes.
and enjoy that.
Yes, and for those who don't want to spend 4 or 5 years in college, you know, you can do it slowly by becoming a paramedic at the fire department and serving your community.
And to those that question city turnover, it isn't just the city. You know, I did retire, coming up on 2 years ago, but personnel, employees was always our biggest obstacle.
Yep.
And literally, you have to go through 10 employees to find one person.
Yep.
Suited for that job. And one of the biggest factors that I noticed, and again, this is just opinion. But I think one of the biggest detriments to employment that didn't already exist was COVID and
Yes.
COVID money. We started paying people to stay at
And
home.
it changed the mindset of people.
It changed the workplace environment. And the twofold, paying people to not work, literally. And then also paying people to work from home. And once this time had passed, they didn't want to go back to work.
Right.
It's too handy to
Yes,
work in your pajamas.
Right.
So
But you know, I can commend the staff and personnel for the city that's made it through COVID and is still here. We do have a question, yay.
Yes, okay, so we were asked with the stage 3 water restrictions. Are flower pots, flowers planted in pots? Covered in with the vegetable garden watering? I notice it only says trees, shrubs, and vegetable gardens. I don't want to buy flowers if I can't legally water them for the summer.
So you can, because you will be able to use a handheld hose or sprayer to do so. And that's what we're trying to get across to people is if you are standing out there with your watering, your hose to water, you can do small things like that. So that is absolutely allowed.
I think the handheld hose comes into play because that makes it an attended activity.
It does.
So that somebody doesn't run 5,000 gallons into the street because they forgot they left
They left it on.
the
Yes.
water.
Yeah, you're out there, like you said, attending it at all times, not walking away from it. Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good question. Anything else?
The only one so far.
I think we've covered a lot of information. I think we have another question. I like questions. It's educational, right? So we can let people know what's going on.
I don't want to overstep into Chief Cathy's area, but I heard discussion about wage, I heard discussion about retention and things of that nature, and obviously the bill's been goal 11 per shift. If it's not in the budget now to perhaps increase wages, have other incentives, whether it be improving retirement contribution by the city or other things been investigated?
We're actually working through that now. It's kind of a drawn out process. I know the city of Clovis, even though they're a home world, they offer ICMA and para retirement. We're looking at that. We're looking at the possibility of increasing how much we pay for the health insurance, at least for the staff member, and then maybe they take on their family member, or maybe the city pays more than for all of it. So those are the things that we're actively working on right now. And I am actively looking for a finance director, which would be very beneficial in that process. So if anybody wants to be the finance director for the city, please apply online at the city of Portales. And we can work through those things too. But yes, I mean, there are other incentives we can offer, and we do offer incentives all the way up to your master's degree. If you speak and read and write Spanish, you get an incentive for that. Your degrees for being a firefighter and EMT up to paramedic, you get an incentive for that. We do have comp time we offer, and of course, all the other city benefits that we offer.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Benefits. You know, it's hard to use benefits at the grocery store, at the Walmart line, but
Yes.
they do add up. And
If you pay less for your health insurance, you have more revenue
Right.
to spend at the grocery store or other stores here in town.
Right, and that is one of my biggest research options right now is to pay more for the health insurance side of it, because I want my employees to have health insurance and I want them to be healthy and have that option.
can't afford being absent.
I can't afford to be an absent either, but yeah, to be fair, I mean, what's my number one priority? My city employees, right? Or we won't have a city, and then next is each priority after that. But benefits is definitely something we want to do better with. There's different municipal levels for fire and municipal employees and PD employees. And so those are all things we definitely actively look at all the time. Well, since we have so many people who are left there in the audience, I'm gonna wrap this up, but I do appreciate your time
Sure.
coming. We plan to do a few more of these, informal, chat with the manager type things where we'll just bring in special guests and kind of have a discussion on things. And, if anybody from the public wants to join in on that chat with the manager or be my special guest, just email me at citymanager@portalisnm.gov and we'll be able to get you signed up. I like this debates. I like a good discussion and I definitely like to be transparent to the community. So thank you, everybody, for your time and have a good day.